Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Blake Holmes. I'm the CDO here at DDS Analytics. My team and I have done an analysis on employee attrition. We've sought to better understand employee attrition and the variables that lead to it. We've also built a machine learning model that can predict future attrition levels as well as salaries for employees. We know any conversation about attrition cannot be separated from the conversation about salaries, so we've studied both in depth. Finally, we talked about the next steps for this project. The data set that we looked at was quite robust, including 31 variables describing 870 employees. Of these 870 employees, 16% were lost to attrition. The first step for us was to build a classifier tool. Using machine learning techniques, we were able to build 5 different classifier tools and rank them based upon their accuracy at predicting whether or not an employee would leave the company. Here, the top ranked classifier was the random forest classifier, which had a correct prediction rate of 96%. Now that we have a model, we're able to look at the most important features for predicting whether or not an employee will leave the company. Here we have overtime, monthly income, age, total working years, stock option level, and marital status listed as the most important predictors of employee retention. We should concentrate on these in terms of future data analysis, as well as in terms of any intervention that we plan to help our probability of retaining employees. Our efforts should be placed on these variables. We also have the bottom 6 least important features. We shouldn't waste our time or energy studying or working on improving these variables for our employees. Next, we built a salary projections tool. Also using machine learning techniques, we were able to take information about the employees and predict what salary they should make. The random forest model had the best predictive ability again. Here we have the top 6 most important features for predicting salary: job level, job role, total working years. Really no surprises. That's exactly what you'd expect. In addition, we have the least important features for predicting the salary. So what we really want to know is whether the salary contributed to the attrition rate. So looking at the employees that we retained, they had a mean salary of $6,700 versus the employees that left had a mean salary of $4,700. This is per month. So those are significantly different, but one could argue that the employees leaving, perhaps employees with lower salaries have higher turnover rates. So it's not necessarily a clear argument to be made there. So what we really want to do is look at the employees that are making less money than what we'd expect. And so we can do that by using our salary predictor and comparing it to the actual salaries that the employees were making. Once we do that, we see that the employees that didn't leave on average made $20 more than what our tool predicted, versus the employees that did leave made $80 less than what our tool predicted. So perhaps these employees really were underpaid, and that is why they left. This graph here visually shows what I just described. Essentially, any green dots below the 45-degree line would represent an employee that was underpaid and left the company and potentially could have been saved with a boost to salary. Here are our protected classes. So according to the EEOC, in our data set, the gender and age variables are protected. And so we need to make sure that the attrition rates for these populations are consistent with the general population, or else we might be at risk of lawsuit. Looking at this chart, we actually see that we're doing pretty well. There doesn't seem to be high rates of attrition in the over 40 age group or in the female gender class. The data here confirms what we just saw in the chart. There's really no overrepresentation with these groups in the attrition. Finally, we use the models that we have now to predict the future. So using the data that we have on hand, we predicted that the future median salary would increase to $5,365, while our attrition rate would actually decrease to 2.67%. That's great news if this is true. The next steps for the project, we really need to pilot a attrition intervention program on at-risk employees. We now know who is at risk, and we need to take action to try to help them and see if we can be effective in retaining more employees. We also can gather more subjective and perception-based data And finally,